Nancy with Icon Apprentice, and we're doing our third video on Our Lady of Fatima. And one of the things that I wanted to explain to you was that the last time that we put our line drawing on and we sponged this outside, I had a technical difficulty with my camera, and I did not realize it till it was completely done, but the sponging that I did not get captured on video. And so that's why you saw me say next we're going to sponge the background and the border, and this is what it looks like. So what I thought I would do is I'm just going to take an old canvas that I've been playing around with and show you how exactly I sponged this part of it, just so that you can see a demonstration. So I'll move this out of the way, get a little plate here, and show you what I've done. I have just drawn just some crazy images here just to show you how you can work around an image as you're sponging. Now, one of the things you want to do is make sure that your sponge is damp. So put it in your water, get it a little damp. We're going to take some of our paint. And this is actually the second color that we're going to use on Our Lady of Fatima. So I'm just going to get a little bit of paint out here. And I'll sponge a little bit and show you exactly what I did on the other drawing, on the other icon. But this will just give you an idea if you were curious, if you weren't really sure how that happened or what you should be doing. So we're just going to dip our sponge into this paint. We're going to get a nice amount on there, and we're just kind of holding it like this. And so to sponge, you're going to try not to get it inside this area. You want it all out on the outer border. So as I go through, I'm kind of twisting and turning, but I'm being careful, trying to get close, but trying not to get inside as much as I can. So that gives you a little bit of an idea how you can sponge, what it's going to look like, how I did it. I'll go ahead and finish it. And when we're sponging, we're not doing the entire thing. So you want to make sure that you're leaving some areas outside that are not going to be sponged. You want that background to show through a little bit. So I hope that explains how that happens. And then always you're going to have a brush that's damp handy. And if you can see here, there are a couple of spots where I got inside the area that I didn't want. So I will just take that damp brush and just take it out. And that's all that you have to do. That's how we sponge something. So now we'll move on then to Our Lady of Fatima. And at this time, it would be a good idea for us to think about what we want to pray for, especially for peace in the world, which is what Our Lady of Fatima asked us to pray for, and also the conversion of sinners. And so you write into your icons whatever you feel called to write, and we'll go ahead and get started with our prayers and then right into our painting of Our Lady of Fatima. So the next step in our icon of Our Lady of Fatima is going to be using this yellow orange, and you can purchase a yellow orange paint. I just mixed mine up, and I believe I just used some Cad orange and some Turner's yellow and just mixed up a nice bright yellowish orange color. That is going to be a second sponging that we're going to put on the background, which is inside the borders next to Our Lady and on the border. So just make sure your sponge is damp. Get quite a nice little amount on your sponge. And just remember that as we sponge, we are not going to be trying to cover everything. This is going to be something that we're just sponging every so often and leaving a lot of that background and border the way it is. So while I'm waiting for my background to dry, I thought what I would do is I would go ahead and work on the robe for Our Lady of Fatima. And what we're going to do, we've got the yellow oxide background. Then we laid in our lines with burnt umber. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use Naples yellow hue. And I use the Josanias, but you can use any brand that you are comfortable with or that you enjoy alike. We are going to put that on her robe, and that's going to be everything on her robe. I am going to base coat do not have to base coat the globe that she's holding, which will be her Immaculate Heart. But I will probably put it on this pendant. I'll just cover that up. We are not going to put it on the flesh, so on her face and her neck and on her hands, we will not put this Naples yellow hue. Remember, less is more, and we don't want to underbind our paint. In other words, we don't want to thin it out so much that the pigment in the paint will not stick and adhere to our painting. So that looks pretty good. I like that, and we'll start laying this paint down. And just be careful as you go through. You know, we're working on the robe. right, and our border is almost dry. So we're going to move on then to the next thing that we're going to do on the border. And what we're doing is we can tape it off if we feel like we need to, or you can just be very careful around here, but I think I'm going to probably let this dry a little bit more and then tape this off so that the border is taped off. And then on the inside, I'm going to put, we're going to do some yellow oxide with some clear glaze medium and just a wash, just a very light wash inside the border right next to Our Lady. And then when that's dry on the outside, we're going to take some antique green and glaze, and we're going to get that nice and loose and just put that around our outside border. So let's let this dry and we'll move on to finishing up our background. Well, just goes to show you can always make mistakes. So one of the things that I forgot to do before I put the background color on was put a few shadows in for Mary's robe. And let me get the color copy out here and we can look at this real quick. And I can always go in and I can still do that and then cover it up if I need to. But you can see here just a little bit of shadow on the outside, tiny bit of shadow on the bottom of her sleeves, a little bit here, a little bit on the outside, tiny shadow inside here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back in here and I'll do some really, really light shadowing. You don't have to, but I'll do a little bit of this shadowing, and then we can come back in and just put a very light glaze of our Naples yellow hue over to kind of tone that down if it gets too bad. So let's try this and see what we get here. So I'm going to lay in some, little bit more of my Naples yellow hue, just barely. And I'm not taking it all the way. I just want to kind of cover a little bit those antique green shadows that I laid in. Well, the ones I forgot to put in originally. But I'm using a really large brush. This is a number 12 round. everything else is starting to look pretty good. I think my border is dry, and I can come back in here and I can put in the yellow oxide with the glazing medium on this inside. Just don't want to get it on my border, and you can tape that off if that's going to help you. Run a piece of tape across it so that you don't go outside that border. But what we're going to do is the yellow oxide and clear glaze medium is just going to be painted loosely over this background. So it's going to be fairly watery. So we just have to make sure that we're not getting it too thick, and it's going to be just really loose, kind of a puddly kind of paint.